That's all I have to say. So you'll stay. No, I just, she's like tenors.
Good morning. Welcome to Theodore Parker Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Allison Gottlieb, and I've been coming to TPC for close to 20 years. I had to check my check register to find out when I first gave a donation. I'm on the Music and Worship Committee and love singing with the TPC singers. As we enter into worship today, we bring with us all of the sorrows and joys of our week, and we know that here we are held in loving community. Here we are reminded that we are part of something larger than ourselves. Here we seek to counter oppression, to work for healing and justice in a bruised and broken world. Here we invite all of you to bring your perspectives, your beliefs, and doubts, and all that is unique and wondrous about you to our service. In the spirit of love, all are welcome here. For those of us joining in person, there are a few things that you may want to know. Our congregation is mask optional, and if you would like to be seated in an area where others are also wearing a mask, this section to my left over in the corner, on that wall, is reserved for people wearing masks. You can use the QR codes at either entrance or in your pews to pull up the order of service on your phone, or you can take one of the large print copies available at both entrances. Our service is being recorded today and will be available on YouTube later. If you would like to have a joy or a concern shared with the congregation today during our meditation and prayer, we invite you to fill out a card on the table to your right, next to Teddy's statue there. And you could do this anytime before the meditation hymn. You may also light a silent candle of joy and concern at any time during our worship service. People of all ages are welcome to move about in the sanctuary as they need, or to make themselves feel comfortable in the cozy zone in front of the first pew. Children's programming for elementary school-age kids is happening today. During the service, our child care provider, Shay, is available to be with nursery-age children in the nursery located in our parish hall. Many thanks to Deanna, who is our camera point person today, and to Jennifer, who is our Zoom usher. If you're new to Theodore Parker Church or are visiting today, we'd love to stay in touch. You're invited to fill out a connection card, which will give you an opportunity to sign up for our weekly updates and help us welcome you. A link to the connection card will be in the chat, as well as our contact information. Those joining us here in the sanctuary are encouraged to fill out the contact card you'll find in your pews within the welcome brochure. Now, Joel Nidus now has a special announcement to make.
It's just an announcement. It's not that special, but I would point out, if you haven't noticed already, there's scaffolding on the wall of the Corey Street side of the sanctuary. We were awarded a Community Preservation Act grant from the City of Boston, and we started applying for that grant in October of 2021. And now the work is about to be done. So thank you to everybody.
Now we'd like to take a moment to greet one another. For those of you on Zoom, putting your video on for this time helps us connect. So would you, okay, so Deanna's going to put the camera on this, to put our sanctuary screen in gallery view so we can see the offside congregation. So let's give each other a big wave, sanctuary folks. The camera is under the clock in the back, so you can turn around to wave to them. As we continue to greet each other, if online, you may post a hello in the chat. If you are physically in the sanctuary, we invite you to greet one another and say good morning, and please ask for consent before offering a hug or a handshake.
Waiting.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Heather Concannon. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the minister of this congregation. Our opening words this morning come from Kim Mason. Once upon a time, chemists believed they could transform lead into gold or death into life. We laugh, but are we not also in the business of alchemy? Turning loneliness into connection, pain into comfort, anger into solidarity, faith into action. The subtle magic of church combines love with justice, creates hope out of fear, transforms individuals into community. Here we engage in a holy alchemy, finding beauty in the ordinary and life in the present. Come, let us be transformed together. I invite us to rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. Our words will be on the screen and also in your gray hymnal. Please rise.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyous everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Don't want to break it. Hi, my name is Bill O'Connor, my husband, Marcos. We've been coming here for a long time, as you know. So please join us in saying our shared covenant, once in English and once in Spanish, in honor of our sibling community in Plazuelas, El Salvador. The words will be on the screen. Okay. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. He was supposed to do the Spanish part. Okay. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es nuestra oración.
Esta es nuestra gran promesa, viver juntos en paz, buscar la verdad con amor y ayudarnos los unos a los otros.
And we're now going to have Gretchen introduce our stewardship campaign.
Good morning. My name is Gretchen Dietz. I have been coming here for 39 years now, and pledging too. That's important. So today we launch our annual Spring Stewardship campaign. I just wanted to introduce the rest of our 4-member stewardship team before I begin with a few very brief details about the pledge drive. Bill O'Connor, who just did the chalice lighting, and Allison Baer, who is going to read for you later. And John Lambert is on a plane right now, but he'll be back, and you'll hear him do one of our testimonials later this month. John has been here even longer than I have. This year's theme is, we're calling it Rooted and Growing. Rooted because this congregation has been rooted in West Roxbury since 1712. And growing because we're seeing new people coming every week, and this is a time when not all churches can say that, so we're very proud of that. We have been here all this time because of your generosity in all forms, volunteering, doing all kinds of things, cleaning the building, just innumerable tasks such as that, but also because of your financial support for the church. And this support comes from many, many people who give at all levels, and all of that is important. Most of you here who I'm seeing in the pews today are familiar with our usual process for running the pledge drive, but for newer people, I just wanted to let you know a little bit about how it works and why this pledge drive is so important. While we receive occasional grants for major capital projects, such as the one out there that Joel just told you about, our budget for operating expenses, our daily expenses, such as salaries and upkeep and supplies, that kind of thing, is totally our responsibility. There is no larger organization that gives us money or any kind of financial support. It's all because of us. While we receive income from rentals and fundraisers and our modest endowment, the Sunday offering, and some other donations, more than 80% of our operating budget is funded by our pledge drive, so it's really important. So that's the first thing to remember. The second thing is that, especially for new pledgers to know, is that all pledges are strictly confidential. The only people who know about your pledge are the members of the stewardship team, our office administrator who enters them in our administrative system, and Reverend Heather. But for that, we have the option of not wanting Heather to know our pledge for whatever reason, so keep that in mind. And then also, this is a pledge drive. This is not, you don't need to pay anything now. Pledges can be fulfilled for the whole fiscal year, which ends on June 30th, 2025. So spread it out. It makes it a lot easier. So what to expect for the rest of the pledge drive? Our pledge drive is through the month of March. We will have testimonials from pledgers every Sunday, starting today with Robin Culgrove and Stenzi Royden, who have also been coming a long time. You will see weekly reminders and links in the e-news, which comes out every Thursday. This afternoon, right after the service, don't leave the sanctuary, we will have a very brief slideshow and presentation with a few more details about the pledge drive, what our goal is and how we're going to reach that goal. So I hope you'll stay just for a few minutes. We will have coffee hour after that, and childcare is being provided through the presentation and coffee hour. So I just wanted to keep this brief because you'll be learning more later. But just finally, everything you need to know about the pledge drive, including a link to our online pledge form, is on our website, tparkerchurch.org, and all you have to do is click stewardship in the main menu. Thank you very much, and we look forward to your participation.
Good morning. Just hand this to Heather. My name is Rose, and I serve as this congregation's religious educator. I'm so glad to be with you all this morning. I have a story to share before we invite the kids to go over to Children's Chapel for the rest of the service. This story is, of course, inspired by our stewardship theme of the year. You'll already notice the tree. I think it's one I've told in this congregation before, so if it sounds a little familiar, there's a reason why, and I think it's important to retell stories, to remember them, to be able to deepen into them. So this is called Sustaining the Tree of Life. And I would love at least 2 helpers. I think Abigail said yes, and I didn't get to ask Cecile. What do you think? Do you want to come up to help with their story? Amazing. Yay. Okay, so we're going to hold this tree in the center because this is the center point of our story. And we have, there are some different parts to read out loud. So I'll have the parts are all on here. I'll start out as the narrator, and I wonder if, okay, we may have tree holders instead of readers, but we'll make this work. Okay, I'm going to start out. Can I hand one of you the microphone so I can start out reading the narrator part over there? Okay, this is Sustaining the Tree of Life by Lynn Gardner. Great. The tree stood in the middle of the village. Its trunk was so large that it took 6 people holding hands to reach around it. Imagine this tree being that big, 6 people. The roots were strong and wide, and its branches spread over the village square, offering shelter from the rain or shade from the summer sun. Its fruit was juicy, sweet, and plentiful. The people of the village loved the tree. Children played beneath it and climbed its lowest branches. Young people knew that if you whispered your dreams to the tree, they were more likely to come true. People who proclaimed their love or friendship for one another beneath the tree found its branches in its branches found their relationship to be nourishing. And elders discovered that their sweetest memories could be counted on when they were near the great tree. The tree had been witness to so much, and when the breezes blew through the leaves, one could hear echoes of generations. Laughter, conversations, dreams, prayers, and songs. Animals loved the tree too. Rabbits lived in burrows under the roots. Squirrels and monkeys lived in its branches. Bats and birds flew to eat the abundant fruit. The tree buzzed with life. One day, a traveling merchant arrived in the village. He rested in the shade and ate 2 pieces of delicious fruit. The merchant said,
This fruit is incredible. I would like to have some to sell in the next villages that I visit. Who owns this tree?
A nearby villager heard the merchant and replied,
No one owns this tree. If anything belongs to it.
We belong to it. The merchant was surprised by the villager's words, but undeterred, he said,
Well then, if no one owns the tree, no one will mind if I pick the fruit.
The merchant then began to fill his basket with the tree's beautiful fresh fruit. The villager was shocked and said,
I mind, and today I am the keeper of the tree.
What do you mean, the keeper of the tree?
We each take our true being here with the tree. We could never own it. We are here as protectors, as sustainers.
That's ridiculous. This tree doesn't need you. You could just take what you need and take what you want. The tree will continue.
but the villager couldn't be persuaded.
Sir, this tree isn't like that. We don't come here to take from it, never, ever. Even though we receive each much, we are keepers of the tree because this is where we are nourished. This is where some of our most precious memories are. And where our people have dreamed, this is where we remember who we want to become.
Well, you may think this tree is very special, but it still doesn't need you to sit with it. That's preposterous.
The tree itself may not need me, said the villager, but what of others who come by? Just this morning, I sat with a woman whose heart was heavy with worry. Had I not been there, she would have had to carry that weight alone. And this afternoon, a tired couple came by, and they rested with me. And they said they had been looking for a place just like this. And then an elder came by, and we watched the birds and the branches together. And now you are here, said the villager to the merchant. You were confused about what this tree is and how to be with it. Imagine if you had arrived and not found anyone to talk with. You might have continued thinking that everything that you do is all about you. Luckily for you, my friend, I'm here to let you know that you care for the tree of life, and it becomes so much more than just about you. The merchant sat for a while in the shade, thinking about these ideas that felt new and a little challenging. As the sun went down, he picked up his bag and headed out of town, whistling a song that he hadn't thought of in years. On his way, he shared a smile with each person he met, and his heart felt strangely light and joyful. And the people of the village, they continued to sustain the tree of life, to care for one another, and to share their gifts with grace and gratitude. May it be so for each of us. Thank you. Thank you so much to our helpers. Now I'm going to invite Michael to lead us in our children's benediction, and any kid who wants to join me for Children's Chapel, they'll head on over.
For you shall go out in joy, for you shall go out in joy, and come back in peace, and come back in peace. Blessed be.
I'd like to invite Robin Colgrove and Stanzi Royden forward to share in our first testimonial of our stewardship season.
Hi, I'm Stancy Royden,
And I'm Robin Colgrove.
and we have been coming to Theater Parker Church for about 28 years now. We thought that was a long time before Gretchen shared how long she and John have been coming.
And throughout those years, we've served on many church committees. I'm currently on Music and Worship Committee, and we both sing in the choir.
The last time we gave a testimonial during the church pledge drive, about 5 years ago, we talked about what brought us to the church, namely the RE program for our children.
Today, children are grown, have left the nest, so we'd like to tell you what keeps us coming to the church.
I grew up in California, and my family did not go to church. Growing up without any kind of religious education left a spiritual void. And when we moved to West Roxbury with our young children many years ago, it seemed like all our neighbors had family living nearby and went to either St. Teresa's or Holy Name Church. So it was hard to feel a sense of belonging in this new place. Theater Parker Church has provided ways to fill both of those voids in my life. When we started attending all those years ago, we were immediately welcomed. Our children began in the RE program, we joined the choir, and started helping out with committees. It was the community I had been searching for, and I have made many friends over the years. But perhaps more importantly, this is a place where I come to feed my spirit. From the thoughtful and moving services to the beautiful music, the adult RE programs, small group ministry, among other things, I have found a spiritual home. When life seems too daunting, or when the world seems to be falling apart, this place provides me with the spiritual sustenance I long for.
Like Stency, I grew up in California, but in contrast, I did go to church on Sundays, the longest stretch being to St. Teresa Catholic Church in San Diego, named for a different St. Teresa, by the way, than the one up the street. I've always been naturally religious, strongly interested in spiritual questions and deeper truths, but I came to realize that I did not and could not believe the literal truth of what I was being taught, most especially the doctrine of eternal punishment, which I found abhorrent. It left me spiritually homeless for many years, until we came to Theodore Parker. This was a name I knew from reading about transcendentalism, and I felt an immediate connection to that tradition. I confess, when I first started coming here, I experienced the benefits in individual terms, a contemplative respite during the week, stimulating readings and sermons, a chance to sing, childcare, even tasty snacks after service. As I got to know more about the congregation, though, I began to feel a strong sense of connection and belonging to this centuries-old institution, and a deepening appreciation for the wide-ranging talents and devotions of its members. I have come to cherish what I can give back to this community as much as what I receive from it. This sense of being part of and valued by something greater than oneself is one of the core spiritual needs, but not something I think I would have found on my own. I'm grateful to have made it here and thankful to be able to contribute.
This church community means a great deal to us, which is why we are happy to contribute each year to sustain it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Stency and Robin. I invite us now to deepen into a space of contemplation and prayer. Enter into this moment here and now. Give yourself this time of stillness. And if you're here in the sanctuary with us this morning and would like to fill out a joy or a concern, you can fill out a prayer card during our centering hymn right here at the table. And if you're joining us online, you can type a joy or concern into our chat now. I invite you to remain seated and join in our centering hymn, Spirit of Life.
Come unto me, filling in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Our joys and concerns this morning include a prayer from Jen for my friend is having her surgery tomorrow. Please pray for her because we are both very scared with the outcome. From Claire Barker, in memory of James Reeb on the anniversary of the murder of UU minister James Reeb in Alabama, a candle in honor of all who work for civil rights. A joy for the whole team who got our grant to keep TPC's walls standing. From Jake Bittner, a sorrow for my Aunt Kenna is dealing with advanced Parkinson's. She recently choked for a second time and was hospitalized. We are hoping she will be able to improve and return to regular food. From those joining online, from Meredith, a candle in remembrance of my sister who passed away, Nancy St. John Robeson. And from Clydia Davenport, a candle of remembrance for my dearly missed mom, who, if alive, would be 97 today. For all of these joys and sorrows, and for all that we hold in our hearts, we light one final candle. And let us join in a space of prayer and contemplation. Spirit of generous love, we gather in community to both give and receive, to both put down roots and to grow. Spirit of generous love, we bring to the altar of community our hopes, our fears, our celebrations, and our heartbreaks. We bring to the altar of community our human needs for companionship, for meaning-making, breaking bread, witness. And we bring to the altar of community our individual gifts, each sharing what we can, each with something to offer. Spirit of generous love, together in community, may we each have our needs met, and may we each play our part in meeting someone else's needs, together building a world that is more interdependent, more loving, more whole. Together, we rest into several moments of shared silence, followed by a musical meditation.
The reading today is called Given the Trees by Reverend Sean Parker Dennison. I have been given the trees, silver snow glittering the black branches in the center of the courtyard, painting a gloss of moonlight over velvet night. I have been given something holy, shining in each and every moment of this day, the last one and the next, in my hair and the laughter of children. I have been given blossoms, blushing pale promises of sweetness, in autumn, tender skin breaking, juice filling my mouth, and the moment with honey. I have been given so much, the odd, small moments given to no one else, like an inside joke with life itself, known only to my most secret self, and I am not alone. I have been given so much, and now all I want to do is open my heart, allow the flowing and overflowing to be unstopped and unstoppable, generous, free. I have been given the tree, the season, blossom and fruit, and this moment and the next. I have been given this life, and I will not stop giving and giving and giving back.
Generosity is the spiritual practice in our Unitarian Universalist congregations. We give to remind ourselves of how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are a part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space. We give with gratitude for all that we have been given and with the faith that together we have more than enough. Links to donate will be in the chat, or you can write a check and send it to the church after the service. Ushers will be coming around the sanctuary to collect an offering from those in the pews who wish to make a donation. And as the TPC singers sing Common Ground by Jim Scott, an offering to sustain the congregation of memory and hope will be gratefully received. Thank you.
So friends, I generally try to fact check my sermons. And this week, in a shocking Google search, I learned that trees do not, in fact, have a root system that mirrors their branches under the ground. And apparently this is a very common misconception, and I had a moment of mourning when I learned this because I have always loved that image of the roots going deep and wide as the canopy extends high above. But even more so, I have to admit that I was most disappointed because it undermined the central metaphor of my sermon. But what I learned instead, I think, is actually equally as cool, that most trees have roots that are found just in the top few feet of soil because roots actually need quite a bit of oxygen to thrive. And the circumference of a tree root system extends to 2 to 3 times the size of the canopy, like circumference size, which I thought was a beautiful metaphor as well, that we need roots that extend wide, that need oxygen to thrive, roots that stabilize us and feed us and spread our reach wide. And friends, as you know, today we are kicking off our stewardship campaign, our theme this year being Rooted and Growing. And I've been thinking a lot about what the roots are in this community and in what ways the community is growing. And after our beautiful and moving installation service last week, the music, the windows, the light, the people, I've been reflecting on what a gift it has been getting to know this congregation this year. As I deepen my own roots in this community and imagine how we as a community will continue to grow for years into the future. So today I wanted to share 5 ways that I see this congregation having incredibly strong roots and 5 ways that I see this congregation growing. Are you ready? It's a list sermon. Okay. Root number 1. Theodore Parker Church has committed leaders and a deep and widespread sense of investment in the congregation. So last year, when TPC was looking for a minister, your search committee put together what is called a congregational record. I'm sure you heard about this. Did they hear about this? And to share more in depth with ministers who are applying to the position what the congregation is like. So I pulled out your congregational record this week, and I'd like to read you one of the first lines from it. The search committee wrote, "A sense of engagement permeates the culture of Theodore Parker Church. engagement with each other and with the surrounding communities and the larger world. And what a compelling thing this was for me to read about a church. And friends, in my experience, this could not be more true. Perhaps it comes from years of having very part-time staff and ministers. Perhaps it comes from years when the congregation was at risk of closing. Or perhaps it comes from your deep love of the church, or some combination of all of these. But the sense of ownership and investment, the sense of this is our church and it is our responsibility to love it and take good care of it, that exists in this congregation is incredibly palpable and incredibly beautiful. Root number 2. TPC has a rich history with a lot to be proud of. There are 2 things that I want to lift up from this church's history, and many of you who have been around for a while will likely know more about these than I do. But for those of you who are newer, you may be wondering, who is this Theodore Parker guy anyway? So the first piece of our history that I want to lift up is our church's namesake, Theodore Parker, whose bust is right here, a Unitarian minister from the mid-19th century who was a transcendentalist, an abolitionist, a supporter of women's suffrage, and he's regarded both as one of the great thinkers of his time and a fierce advocate for social justice. And he served this congregation from 1837 to 1846. And for many of us, myself included, it is an honor to engage with his legacy and this church that he served and wonder how we might carry it on today. And the second piece of history that I want to lift up is something that if you were at the installation last week, you heard referenced in our welcome, which is the period of time when this church almost closed in the late 1970s and early 1980s. At some point, I got to pin down a date, but here's what I found in the congregational record, was that in 1976, the congregation was presented with 3 offers to sell the building, and the congregation voted against selling the building with a vote of 18 to 6, meaning that there were 24 members voting at that time. And from there, the congregation has built back in membership, budget, care of the building, ministry. This congregation has been able to support a full-time settled minister for the first time since that time period, which is no small feat. And the congregation has for the congregation to come back to this level of vitality from the brink of closing is nothing short of miraculous. So root number 3, we have incredibly strong programs with a lot to get involved in. There are so many good things going on here at TPC. And I want to lift up in particular our music programs, our religious education programs, and our justice programs. And all 3 of these currently have wonderful and engaging things going on, but I will also note that these 3 areas were hit really hard by the pandemic in a lot of churches, kind of across the board. And these programs still have so much to offer, and they are thriving in this context. From the beautiful music that our choir and Michael and Yukiko offer each week, to the house band, which blesses us with music from time to time, this congregation's long history of social justice work. Your work protesting the West Roxbury lateral pipeline was one of the first things that impressed me about this congregation years ago when I was involved in the campaign as a local minister. And I'll speak a little bit more about how some of our programs are growing and evolving in the next section, particularly our RE program. But for now, I will say there are so many ways to get plugged in, to receive, and also to share your gifts. Root number 4. We have beautiful buildings that are so well cared for. Now, I'll be entirely honest, normally I try to de-emphasize the importance of a church's building, because I believe that sometimes that there can be a false equivalency between a church and its building, that the congregation is not its building. Did you know, friends, that this is the 4th sanctuary that we have worshiped in as a congregation? The 4th sanctuary. This one was built in 1900, but as Gretchen mentioned earlier, this congregation was founded in 1712. And the COVID lockdown reminded us that we can still be a congregation even when we aren't able to gather in person, even when we aren't in our building. And all of that said, this is a gorgeous space. Friends, take a moment to just look around. If you're on Zoom, Maybe imagine the windows. Take a moment to look around and notice a detail in this sanctuary that you may not have noticed before. Take a moment to notice how you feel in this space. I do think that there is something to be said for the way that a congregation cares for its space. And this congregation has cared for these buildings with consistency and love, and it is no small investment. And as Joel shared with us, the work and the dedication and the care continues just earlier this week as scaffolding was put up to maintain this beautiful and old building. This congregation has worked hard to make this sacred space a spiritual home that will sustain us for generations to come. And root number 5, the people. Of course, the thing that makes this community the strongest, the roots that go the deepest, are the people who make up this community. More than anything, this congregation is not its programs or its buildings or its history. This congregation is made strong by the people who are here, whether you've been here for 40 years or 4 weeks. In my short time here, I have come to know the people of this congregation as committed and caring and engaged and thoughtful. And this congregation is so lucky to have such wonderful people. You are the roots and the foundation of this community. So we as a congregation are rooted in so many things, and there are so many more I could have listed. Our roots are spread wide, but they also go deep, right? 1712, what a historic and long time. But we're not just a historic congregation. We are also a growing and evolving and changing congregation. And right now I see so many ways in which this congregation is growing deeper as we speak, expanding our circle of welcome, continuing to find new ways to live out our purpose. So, part 2. Here are 5 ways in which I see our congregation growing. Growing area number 1. We are widening the circle of investment and ownership. Friends, I see us growing our investment and ownership of this congregation in so many ways, from inviting a wider circle of people into leadership and committees, to people who have never pledged before pledging for the first time, to meaning an ever-widening group of people when we say, someone from my church. We are growing our circle of who takes responsibility for the well-being and maintenance and thriving of this congregation. And every week I see new people who are becoming invested in the ministry and the life of this congregation. Growing area number 2. We are strengthening our institution in meaningful, behind-the-scenes ways. Look, I know that institutional maintenance is not the most shiny thing to talk about. But I also think it really matters. It matters for things like, do people know how to access information? Do we know how to track newer members, how to invite them into deeper engagement? Are we streamlining processes and procedures in order to not burn out our volunteers or to free up volunteer energy to do other things they find meaningful? And some of this is updating our institutional capacity for 21st century communications and technology. Some of it is catching up with the numerical growth that has already happened, because when a church grows, not everybody knows everybody else the way we might have once known one another. And it begins to mean that how things get done need to happen a little bit differently. So behind the scenes, your leaders and your staff have been working hard to think about what sorts of infrastructure this church needs in order to be an effective and relevant congregation. Growing area number 3. Our children and youth programs are growing. And what a joy, friends. What a joy to get to know that this faith that we love so much that we can share this with the next generation of Unitarian Universalists. What a joy to know that this faith will give young people some of the same gifts we ourselves have gotten from it. And friends, it is my firm belief that the religious education of young people is something that is the responsibility of the whole congregation, not just parents. That we come into community to share our faith, and that part of that work is passing on our faith, right? that parents bring their children into religious community to have other people who share their values surrounding their children and helping to pass on those values. And growing and investing in our children's religious education program can look like so many things, from financially investing in our religious education program, to people who don't have kids in the program volunteering to help, to participating in things like our multi-generational potluck on March 17th, or our Mystery Friends program, which we are in the midst of right now, to embracing having kids in worship, which includes all of the wiggles and whispers that comes with. Have you noticed that our children and youth programs are growing? I've noticed this in my short time. It's been remarkable to see. Growth area number 4. We are exploring how to be more effective in our social justice work. As I mentioned, this congregation has a long history of social justice work and many wonderful programs and partnerships. And some reach back for years, like our partnership with the Urban Ministry, the UU Urban Ministry, and others like Diana's List, our Middle East advocacy group, have just formed this year. And recently, our justice ministry leaders have been thinking about how to coordinate efforts, how to better communicate what is happening in the realm of justice ministries here in the congregation, and how to invite people in. And we are growing our ability to coordinate and communicate and advocate as effectively as we can. So next week, if you're actually interested in being part of this growth and this conversation, you can join a conversation in the parlor after worship to learn more and to contribute your ideas. And growth area number 5, the last one. We are reaching out to people who may need us, but who may not yet know about us. Friends, we know that we need this faith, and that people need this congregation in particular, this community and this space. And that is true of so many of us here today who found our way into this community, but it is also true of people who do not yet know about us. Too often I hear about many UU congregations. I've heard this in every UU congregation I've been a part of. Newcomers saying things like, "I've driven by this building for years. I had no idea what it was." Or, "I thought this building was a museum." And friends, I don't know what's happening, but this spring, have you noticed? People are visiting us. People are curious. And if you are newer to Theodore Parker Church, I want to say thank you. Thank you for finding your way here. Thank you for walking through the doors, because we know that it's a risk to walk into a new community, not really knowing what to expect. But we are so happy that you're here. And to everyone here, I want to ask a favor. Will you help us not be the best kept secret in town? Will you? Because there are people in our lives who may long for a community like ours and only need an invitation and a welcome to join us in the amazing things that are happening here. So friends, this is what I see. Ways that we are rooted and ways that we are growing. 7 months into my time as your minister, I see a congregation with so much that has already been invested, so much to be proud of and so much to offer, and so many more ways that we are and could continue to grow. So as we enter into the stewardship season, I wonder how you feel most rooted in this congregation. And I wonder also how you imagine us growing in the years to come. And I invite you to join us in shaping that future. May it be so, and amen. I invite us to rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, number 1024, When the Spirit Says Do. The lyrics will be on our slides.
You gotta do when the Spirit says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. 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 Spirit says sing, Spirit says sing, Spirit says sing, Spirit says sing. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you gotta dance. Oh, you gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. 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 You gotta laugh when the Spirit says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do. Oh, you gotta do when the Spirit says do. 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 Spirit says do.
Friends, may we be like a tree rooted and growing, knowing where we came from and imagining where we could go. May we each bring the gifts we have to offer, and may we each receive the gifts we need from community. May it be so, and amen. I have a few brief announcements this morning. First of all, please stay for a short introduction to the pledge drive. I am promised it will be short. We'll be right here in the sanctuary. If you're joining us on Zoom, please stick around as well. We'll continue to stream it right here in the sanctuary. Childcare is going to continue through this introduction to the pledge drive. After that, please join us in the parish hall for coffee hour, or stick around for breakout groups on Zoom if you'd like. A few upcoming things. On March 17th, two things are happening. After church, there's a Justice Ministries conversation in the parlor to talk about the future of Justice Ministries in our congregation. Justice Ministries also has watch parties for Stamped from the Beginning that will be happening. Please see your weekly email for more information on that. And people will be at coffee hour today to chat more. On March 17th, there's also a multi-gen potluck in the evening from 5 to 7. Please sign up. There's a link in the weekly email, and I think it also went out over TPC Talks to sign up for that. Everyone is invited. And on March 23rd is our next Music on Center Street concert featuring the Latin music of Soli Canto, and there are posters ready to be distributed in your neighborhoods. The person who typically does it, Carol, is not able to get to all the places as much this time around, so she asked for some help, and Gretchen has the posters, I believe. Yes? They'll be out. Great. Thank you. Yukiko is going to close us out with Yesterday by John Lennon and Paul McCartney.
Hi, thanks for staying, and this will be brief. I'm Cindy Bergeron, and I'm the chair of the board this year. And I just want to say how important it is that we really support the church through this pledge drive, and thank the people who are on the stewardship committee. They've worked very hard on this. And this, of course, as we heard, is the most important part of our income for the church. So at this time, I want to introduce Mark Ferenz, who's both our treasurer and the chair of the finance committee, to give us a little bit more information.
This good? Yes. Okay. As Heather's made very clear, we've been growing gradually, and as Heather has made clear, we've been growing and changing gradually as the last few years have gone on. In particular, last year we took a big step up in our benefits for our staff, trying to meet the Affordable Care Act and also the UUA guidelines on how to do that. That's at least a two-step process, and this is the second step this year. Pledge Drive, again, is in this year going to be 83% of our budget comes from the pledging. The rest will be fundraising like the winter fair and the plant sale and contributions for one reason or another. Staff compensation is 70% of that, and 30% is the building maintenance activities that we're engaging in, trying to get a little bit more church involvement. I think in this coming year we'll have more food at some of the church events and things like that. Little steps forward, but they do cost money. The next. I can't see it there. Okay. This amount for this coming year comes to $267,000. We'll go into a little bit more detail about how that pledge drive works. I just wanted to underline one more time. What we're doing is stepping up to try and live our values. We're going to spend substantial chunks of money on benefits for our staff to bring them in line with the Affordable Care Act and UUA guidelines. And along the way also, I think, improving our services to ourselves, to one another, and to the community as well. Somebody from the pledge drive is going to take over to give you the details.
Go to the next slide.
Yeah, that would be better.
So, great. The folks on the stewardship team every year put together a gift table, meaning we look at what the historical contributions have been like, we look at the size of our congregation, we look at the number of pledgers that we have, and we try to build the table for the giving year that we're starting. We have to, of course, get the budget from the Finance Committee, which Mark just went over, and we look at what we think the capacity of the congregation is, and the distribution of the gifts based on size. One thing that we say every year, and it's very important this year again, is that we're looking for new pledgers as well as people who have been pledging regularly. We always look at how many pledges we may not get repeated because people leave the congregation or move away, whatever it may be. And to Heather's part of the sermon about the growth in the community, how many new people we have and what they may be able to contribute to the community. So one thing I just would point out on the very bottom of this is that last year the year we're in, finishing up right now, we had 80 pledging units, pledging households. We're looking for 90 this year, which is a big growth. We anticipate actually that we've lost a couple due to changes in membership. So it's a net increase of 12 new pledgers, which is not insignificant for this congregation. I've been on the stewardship team, not last year, but for several years before that. But we've been largely able to meet those growth goals, and hopefully we'll be able to do so again. I think the other thing is that we've always emphasized that a pledge is important no matter the size of the pledge. And whatever anybody feels that they can give is important, and that's important to show that we have as much participation from all parts of the congregation, and that we have, for the last, I'm looking at Gretchen, 3 years, I think, been able to meet and or beat our pledge goals, both in terms of the, most of the time the number of pledges and certainly the amount. One thing Heather didn't say about the congregational record, when we put that together on the search committee last year and submitted it, we heard from all the ministers that were interested in talking to Theodore Parker about perhaps being our settled minister, was that our ability to continue to grow our pledging amount and our number of pledgers was a huge, important thing that stood out from many other congregations, especially those when we were coming out of the pandemic. We were very different that way, and I just think we have a great history related to that, and we hope to build on that. I will say that on the giving page on the website, if you go to stewardship, right, Gretchen? There's a lot of materials there, in both this table as well as a giving guide, which we get from the UUA and update for use by folks here, which helps people take a look at their income and their commitment level to the congregation. I don't mean financial commitment. I mean how engaged, how frequently folks come, what participation they have, to kind of help you figure out what might be a gift commensurate with how you are connected to the community and to Theodore Parker Church. Anybody else? Any have questions? So one more slide? Okay. One more slide, I guess. Okay. So this slide is meant to indicate that the tree is kind of bare right now. But we will be, every week as we do during the stewardship campaign, adding leaves to the tree for each new pledge that we get. So hopefully by the end of the campaign it will look quite lovely, full, and have a large circumference of leaves. Hi, Claire. Folders, no. We have not made any printed materials. They're all on the website. You know, if you need that, you can talk to one of us. But we have really shifted, especially over the last several years, to doing pretty much everything online and getting materials online. They're all on the website. And the drop-down menu for donations now has the fiscal 25 pledge drive on there, so you can make your pledge. And as I think Gretchen said during her comments, you can pledge now, and for fiscal 25, the last payment wouldn't be until June of 2025. So, other questions? Margot.
So when do you have to start paying your pledge? And do you have to pay, once you made a pledge, you have to pay it all at once?
So, yes, I will. Margot's question was, when do you have to start paying your pledge? And when you pay, do you have to pay it all at once? So the answer is you can start paying whenever you want. We just need the final payment to be by the end of that fiscal year, so June 30th, 2025, which is 15 months away. And you can pay once, you can pay every week, you can pay once a month, you can pay once a quarter, you can pay when you get a winning scratch ticket and you feel flush. You know, whatever works for you is fine. We're just, you know, to have it counted, I don't see Ann Forsyth here, but have it counted, I think, needs to be by, you have to get it in by June 30th of 2025. Yes?
If we have a weekly pledge already set up for the 2024 fiscal year, will it transfer over once that year closes?
So the question was, if you already have established a weekly 2024 pledge for the year that we're in, will it transfer over? The answer is no, because that's a separate fiscal year. So you need to go online and pledge whatever you're going to pledge for next year, and then you can set up or continue the payments at the same amount or changed amount, whatever you want to do. But we do need you to pledge for 25 because it's a separate fund.
We won't start charging those until...
You actually, if you set it up as an automatic payment, you can let us know which you want it to go to. It's fine. Okay. Joy.
You went to church? I'm at church now. They're talking about all kinds of things. Money. They definitely need money.
The real thoughts are coming out.
So you don't have to wait until this fiscal year ends to make your first payment?
You do not need to wait until this fiscal year ends to make your first payment, but you just need to indicate that the payment is for fiscal 25. I'm not an accounting whiz, but I'm looking at Mark, and I don't know if Ann was here. It gets, in Margot, there's a place that it shows prepaid pledges, and it gets credited towards the correct year. Cindy.
It's been suggested that for people who might be of a certain age and might be getting required minimum distributions from various, savings funds, that those could be used as part or your entire pledge, and you get a tax benefit from doing that. And of course, the TPC would be very grateful.
Right, there's the opportunity to use your RMD if you're having to take that, and if you have what's known as a QCD, a qualified charitable distribution, it can go directly from your IRA to the church, and that's also noted on the acknowledgement form. Kathy.
I set it up so that it gets deducted every month, and I have it indicated to stop in June, and then I can redo it for the next year. But if you have it just recurring, it will just keep coming out. So when you set it up, you can see how long you've set it for.
Anybody else? Great. Anybody online? The peanut gallery? Okay, thanks very much. You can talk to any member of the stewardship team or to Mark, who's chair of the finance committee, for any questions you didn't want to ask or thought about afterwards. Thank you.